Happy to see you again. We are with Greg Engert, beer director for the Neighborhood Restaurant Group, a Food and Wine Sommelier of the Year. The group includes the two Rusticos, Alexandria and Ballston, and we're at Owen's Ordinary up in North Bethesda, Maryland, on a gorgeous day. And this place is like, and I hate to date myself, it's like the Genesis project in Star Trek II. It's like
I don't
they
even know
just
what that
sent
means.
something. Well, I know.
Even I don't.
You were, I don't know,
was like
you were
6.
probably just starting grade school. Or no, you might have been younger than that. Anyway, it's just the growth. That's the thing. It's amazing here.
Yeah.
And it's a really cool place. Greg, it is always good to see you.
Good to see you too.
What do we have on tap this week? A theme going.
Yeah.
Here
So I
September.
recently returned from a really amazing trip to Belgium. Got to pour some of our Blue Jacket beers. Got to visit some incredible breweries. And one of the breweries that we visited was the Brasserie Caracole from the province of Namur, which is in the south of Belgium, in Wallonia, the French-speaking south. South of the city of Namur, it's near Dinant, is the Brasserie Caracole. So this is their classic wit beer. It's called Troublette, and it's a wonderful example of the style. So great kind of lemony, hints of spice. It's got a tangy aromatic to it.
The nose is amazing.
A really, really lively, brisk palate. And like the best Belgian wheat beers or wit beers, it has a slight tartness to it. That's a classic hallmark of Belgian wit beer. Was always a nice hit of kind of delicious acidity. A lot of the wit beers that come out now are very, very clean. They tend to be on the sweet side. This is rich and robust, got great texture on the palate, then finishes really bright with that tartness, a little bit of tang. It's wonderful beer.
This is delicious, and I've said before, I'm not a big wit beer fan. I'm not a big fan of most U.S. wit beers, and then, of course, in Germany, it's a
Totally different thing.
different taste. That is really good. How long have these guys been around?
So Caracole is a really cool story, as with most classic Belgian brewers these days. So there's the brewery itself dates, the building dates to like the late 18th century. There's been brewing in that area. And a brewery existed there until it changed hands in like the 1950s. A new brewer came in and went into the 1970s, and then it closed, I think, in 72. This guy named Francois Tonglé, who was actually had this amazing beer shop in Namur, selling hundreds of beers from all over Belgium and other local products of Wallonia. He started home brewing and started then as a hobby and started looking for a brewery to start brewing in the early 90s. And so he took over this brewery that had been defunct for nearly 20 years and started brewing the Caracole brands. I think their first releases date to like 1994 or so. And it's amazing. I mean, some of the equipment that he's using in there goes back to the 19th century. He's the only brewery that I know of in Belgium that still has direct fire tanks for wood-fired tanks to warm the water and wood-fired tanks for boiling. And it shows. I think you get a really cool kettle character on the malt. It has a richness on the palate from the way that it's handled.
Now, I've been fortunate enough to visit Brussels and Antwerp for about 4 hours, and Bruges, which was a lot of fun. If someone had done that too and said to you, I want to go to one of the outlying regions, where would you tell them to go first? I know that's sort of, maybe a tough question.
That's a tough question, of
you don't
course.
want to tick anyone off,
I mean,
or some of the areas, because those countries, everyone goes to the big cities, but
well, the first thing
so
to
much
do
more.
is to, if you stay in Brussels, is to travel around the Pajottenland, which is the rural area, now the suburbs that surround Brussels, where there's so much great lambic to be had. So that's where, Cantillon lambic is in Brussels, but Drie-Fonteinen, De Cam, a lot of really cool lambic cafes serving classic traditional goose and Kriek are right in that area. So I love saying that. If you go to Bruges, Bruges is great, but then if you go south to West Flanders and Poitou area, you can see West Vlaanderen, you can see St. Bernardus, you can see Struise. So West Flanders is great. And I mean, if you do go down to Namur, there's not a lot of breweries compared to the other areas, but it is absolutely gorgeous. Kind of rocky terrain, old coal mining and metal mining areas. It's really beautiful.
So cool. And just like last week, the blonde ale we had last week, I imagine the possibilities are nearly endless. What would you pair this with?
The lemony quality here reminds us to do a lot with seafood, I think. Like very light things like sole and cod are amazing. You can do fish and chips. But then if you go like Maryland crabs, clams, oysters that aren't too briny, all going to be phenomenal with this. And then it's awesome with like fruit salads, Caesar salads. This is a perfect beer for vegetables of all kinds. So like asparagus, beans, green beans, peas, green veggies love wit beer as well.
Vegetables? What kind of show are we running here? All right, Greg, thank you as always. Very nice. Everyone, please always do drink responsibly and be sure to bring your thirst next time for another Beer of the Week.